The launch sequence has been initiated. There's really nowhere to hide at this point. Protect that bomb. If it detonates before it's underground, well, let's just not let that happen.
Iron Brigade, formerly known as Trenched, is an alternate history third-person shooter / tower defense game released in 2011 on Xbox Live Arcade and a year later on PC. Sadly, it came with the dreaded Games for Windows Live. Having said that, Double Fine have taken it upon themselves to patch out that horrid system, reviving the game and giving it the life that it deserved on PC. Iron Brigade's story is based on an alternative timeline of the World War I era. A strange radio communication known as the broadcast is sent across the world, causing death in many who had the misfortune to hear it. Strangely, it did not kill everyone. In fact, it gave Frank Woodruff and Vladimir Farnsworth superintelligence and knowledge of advanced technologies. With this newfound knowledge, they create two ends of the spectrum, with Woodruff creating trenches and Vladimir, through sheer insanity, the monovision. The story for Iron Brigade doesn't feel entirely necessary at times, but it does add humour and some purpose to what you're actually doing, rather than leaving it a mindless wave-based shooter.
How do you like that?
Fusing tower defense and third-person shooter gameplay creates an interesting combination of planning and raw power. The trench, essentially a small mech, allows you to move around and take out enemies directly, while you can also throw down emplacements, which is where the tower defense aspect comes in. Playing tactically and thinking ahead will definitely help and makes for decent gameplay. The game ranks your performance through the issuing of medals after each mission. Which medal you receive will depend on the criteria for that level. For example, some missions will rank you on the health remaining on a building you've defended, while others will rank you based on how quickly you complete it. The game gives recommendations on how to approach a given mission, which is not always useful, so figuring out your own recipe for each mission can often be the better way to go to reach those higher rankings. The medal system allows for decent replayability, giving the player a reason to fine-tune and try again. One particularly effective strategy is revisiting earlier levels after you've had the chance to upgrade your trench with new toys. Some of you will feel godlike, while others will probably discover one of the few disappointing things in Iron Brigade. It doesn't scale in difficulty based on the number of players or their respective trenches' power.
I mean, whoops! Bite me! Oh yeah, you were trying, weren't you?
There is a multitude of items to unlock and powerful combinations to be found, but there are limitations to what you can do based on the chassis you choose for your trench, which is a nice way of balancing things, and it makes you think before starting each mission. Smaller trenches like the Selka have a very limited weapons layout. However, this can be offset by having access to emplacements that are typically high damage or have extra utility. On the other end of the spectrum, you have larger trenches like the Carlson, which usually have layouts built for raw damage, and a limited number of emplacements are available. Both options are very viable, but ultimately it will come down to what the mission requires.
Die!
Controls are pretty straightforward and require you to remember relatively few buttons, and as a nice surprise, you'll have an equally easy time controlling a trench with either a mouse and keyboard combo or a gamepad in hand. Being able to use whatever is most comfortable without any real downsides is a great feature.
Let's try a shotgun then. That should stir things up.
Iron Brigade is ideally played as a co-op affair, and I personally think it's more enjoyable played that way. Having said that, the swap from Games for Windows Live has left the game a little broken in the multiplayer department. 2 players seem to be fine for the most part, but it can go south pretty quickly, particularly if your host lacks a decent internet connection. Any higher, especially with 4 players, and the game can become unplayable. So you're in luck if you have a friend who wants to play, but you might want to keep an eye out for updates if you'd like to play with 3 or 4.
Polish gun will be ready by now. Oh, please.
While Iron Brigade might be a slightly dated game now, it doesn't detract from its gameplay. It's a novel experience with a good sense of humour, which we've come to see from most Double Fine titles. For those of you who might have picked it up during a sale or wanted to play it on PC after playing the 360 version, now that it's shrugged off the shackles of Games for Windows Live, it's definitely worth installing. For the newcomers, it's quite the treat and worth checking out if you're into genre mashups.
What's wrong with this piece of garbage trench?